Hello guys, girls and everything else, and I decided to record a video that doesn't even have a script yet. It doesn't have a script or isn't a reaction, and it's about Pathfinder 2nd edition. So, yeah, homebrewing compared to D&D and stuff like that. Well, in D&D, it is not really focused on balance, so D&D is kind of is kind of easier to homebrew for a lot of people, but in Pathfinder, unless you're talking classes, then it's pretty easy to homebrew stuff like feats. Well, for example, you want your rogue to have an attack that hits multiple enemies. So yeah. Actually, Fighter has a similar feat. You can see that Barbarian and Fighter have this thing called Whirling Strike. You can essentially homebrew the same thing for Rogue. If you want to generally check what kind of things you want to homebrew, just try to search up similar things. For example, like with my Barbarian that I'm making, which is the Aberrant Barbarian. Aberrant Barbarian has essentially like a scream attack that inflicts fear on enemies. So let's check the fear spell. See? Fear spell? And that's how it works. I planned to give it to my Barbarian at about 6th level, so yeah, heightened third, which means that you can use it since level 5. And it does this, but this one costs a spell slot. So to compensate for that it normally costs like level 1 spell slot or so, I'm going to think about what can I actually do to balance it out. So I decided that since level 5, because it's third, over here can target up to 5 creatures, and Barbarians use Wisdom pretty decently often, because they roll it for initiative, will saves, and already the Barbarian gets ability to use its Wisdom, their Wisdom instead of Charisma for intimidation checks. Let's just change let's just essentially change the 5 to number of creatures equal to your Wisdom modifier. You can target up to amount of creatures equal to your Wisdom modifier over here. So that's how I actually did it, and it works pretty similarly to this one. Also, I checked another thing about that one. Dragon transformation. And if you wanna, and as you can see, Dragon transformation essentially allows you to use on that rage, that essentially like it allows you to get a special form of rage that allows you to turn into a dragon under effects of 6th level dragon form instead of raging. See, it doesn't really have any limits except that you need to have dragon instinct and dragon's rage wings. So yeah, there's also upgrades later. So I decided, let's do the same, but instead of dragon form, let's use another spell that is similar, called Aberrant form. See, over here. And yeah, Aberrant form is a 5th level spell, and at 6th level it gets all these bonuses, and also, so yeah, just switch up that thing with Aberrant form, and instead of maybe just flying, give it something else. Like maybe extra temporary hit points, I think. Because Dragon form, I believe, Yeah, it's actually a 6th level spell, but you know, still, over here, it's still effects of a 6th level spell. So, I do believe that it should be pretty balanced, since this is both spells at level 6. So yeah, also, let's check our ancestries for a second. No, not archetype, ancestries. And let's check like an... Because I don't really remember that, so... Versatile Heritage, and let's just take Beastkin, because it's probably the coolest heritage of them all, allowing you to essentially turn your dwarf into a wasp, for example, or turn your elf into a bird or something. There's essentially anything like animal related can be just used by Beastkin. So not only you have a lot of that stuff, but let's check fix, and for example, Gift of the Moon. Yeah, this one. You can share your power with others, but you can escape rare creatures. They're so easy. You can cast 5th level Moon Frenzy as a primal innate spell once per day. At 15th level, it turns into 6th level. It increases net at 20th level is at 10th level Moon Frenzy. So yeah, it should also be balanced, for example, if you took another 5th level spell. For example, give your ancestry, for example, Fireball at level 5th, and then just increases over here. I know Fireball isn't really a good example. I personally prefer Lightning Bolt. So yeah, also let's just, for example, right now we can check all those spells that we want to give them. And let's see, since Occult was pretty cool, let's check 5th level Occult spells. Abyssal Plague, Banishment, Cloak of Colors, Chromatic Wall. Let's check Shadow Blast, okay? So see, that's the damage it deals. And you can do the same with Shadow Blast, where it increases to like, at first level 5, then level 6, at level 15. It will increase to level 6, which will increase the damage by 1d8, aka 6d8 then, and at the max level it will turn into 10d8. And it should work balanced, and it should be balanced as a level 13 feat for your ancestry. Or heritage. I don't know, ancestries and heritage change similarly. So yeah, also pack tactics. Works just like squad tactics that hobgoblins have. See, if enemies within reach of 2 of your allies, the enemies flat-footed against you, really good if you're working on a rogue or something. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If I'm talking about spells, just make sure that if you changing, for example, like animal magic fit, and you have this three, you can, like, for example, at 9th level give like 3 level 2 spells for someone to be used as innate spells, aka they use charisma. And at least I think that's how it should work. For example, also 5th level feat +2 to save against diseases and poisons. That's how it should be balanced. Then if you're trying to make something new, like I made for this barbarian, you can see that it really overlaps with other things. And as long as you try to somehow balance it with having more, like more game designing experience than your average Wizards of the Coast employee, aka you play the game yourself, probably. Because I don't know if you know, but since I'm the big villain Wizards of the Coast hater, not like they started the OGL thing. I'm going to tell you that from experience, back when I was like a D&D fan, big D&D fan, then I used to like enjoy thinking about Unearthed Arcana, you know, because yeah, they hear us out. That's so cool, you know. That's so cool. I really like this, and then I realized that they just checked if someone liked the Twilight Cleric, and they didn't like, and everyone said that it was broken. So they say, oh, they didn't like it, and they buffed the Twilight Cleric. They don't. So yeah, they do not read. They just search at a graph if okay, this is good. If not, we will just throw in a last-minute change. That's how Wizards of the Coast operates. That's why I'm a huge advocate for Paizo. But let's now get to equipment, weapons. Base weapons, critical specializations. For example, you're trying to make like a cool weapon. Then, well, probably you have some sort of point-buy system for weapons. But let's say I want the best weapon ever, so I don't think that poleaxe exists. Yeah, just 10-foot pole is the only thing I think that exists. So the second closest thing to poleaxe is no, oh yeah, yes, sorry, I'm dyslexic. So yeah, sure, Hellbart. You can see that it deals like 10d8 piercing damage and has like versatile traits and reach traits. It's also martial, so if you're trying to make a martial weapon or of some sorts, try to check for weapons that are similar, you know? And wouldn't you know it, for example, we can see like Great or Nephis. You can see that this one has 1d12 slashing damage and has versatile P, aka it can deal both slashing and piercing damage if you want, because it has versatile P. And this one and Hellbart deals piercing basically 1d10 and has versatile S, aka versatile slashing. So the difference is that it deals a smaller die by one step, aka D10 instead of D12, but has a reach property. So right now you know that reach trait is equivalent to one size of die. So now basically with that knowledge you have, if you're trying to like make I don't know, like a basic pole or something, like for example a poleaxe, then it will probably not deal D12 because you should probably reduce the damage with the reach property. And since it has a lot of traits, giving it another trait would probably make it an advanced weapon instead of that, because this is just martial. So for example poleaxe, which I use in my games, and yeah, I use a lot of stuff in my games, both D&D and Pathfinder, so I need to double check whether or not something is homebrew or not. And so probably usually, for example, if you check Great Axe, and you check the Butchering Axe, and you take the Butchering Axe, so yeah, Great Axe has just sweep property. See, D12 and sweep property. Butchering Axe has D12. Orc doesn't really count towards trades because it just means that a lot of orcs use it. Uncommon trade that doesn't really count because once again it just it's mostly against players, and that's pretty much all advanced weapons. So the actual trait that it has is shove and sweep, aka we can give one trait, aka shove is what turning it into an advanced weapon. Essentially it is what makes it shove, what gives it the shove property. So shove property amounts to one advanced, turning weapon into an advanced weapon. So yeah, we can just try yet again and check like two very similar weapons. For example, even we can just straight up go to the shove property and battle loot. This uncommon has shove and two hand property. It is a simple weapon, so it is basically a better staff, but staff can be used as an extension of a normal staff. So let's check a boarding pike, for example. Boarding pike, yeah, over here, reach and shove, and this one has great club, which is backswing and shove. So once again, backswing is the same as reach. So we should essentially, so you should essentially just, for example, find a weapon that has a shove trait and find a weapon that doesn't, and find a weapon that has like a finesse trait. I mean like a similar weapon, but it has something else instead of a shove trait. For example, over here we can see that one has just shove, but it deals 1d6, so adding both agile and finesse over here is equivalent to just reducing the die size by 1, aka turning d6 over here into a d4. So agile and finesse is decreasing the die step by 1 step, as we proved also is like the polearm weapons. That's how the reach trait works. So essentially reach trait is equivalent to both agile and finesse traits. So that's how you homebrew items, I think. With this, you can see, just compare stuff to other. So the thing is similar still. Compare stuff to other stuff and just check what puzzle has proven to be balanced and change things that you feel that are equivalent. That is, of course, if you want to like keep it balanced or something. You can also check basic magic weapons to see. Oh no, that's not this. So specific magical weapons, I mean. You can see like all the stuff like Hunter's Bow, C, which is a magical bow, and you can compare also the magical traits that are on this weapon to essentially that are on these weapons, or to just give something that seems similar and equal to it. If the weapon has a trait that seems similar to a spell or is just casting a spell, you should know that casting a spell of the same level should be probably, balanced. So, let me take once again everything else. If you're trying to do, just compare it to stuff that already exists. Unless you're trying to do a new character, then I have a method for you. The most important thing at your character's value is the PPR, aka damage prevented per round, aka you need to check how much an average class does with their damage that they deal, how tanky they are, and how much can they heal and stuff like that. How useful this class is in also like background activities, but most importantly, how much damage they can deal in an encounter to finish off enemies quickly, how much damage can they take to prevent other allies, how much they can block to prevent other allies from taking damage, and also how much damage they can heal to restore the damage. The most important thing in Pathfinder 2nd Edition is to reduce the amount of damage you take to a minimum. That's the strategy. If you kill the enemy fast, then the enemy won't be able to deal damage, therefore won't be able to damage you. You can also tank the damage to prevent other of your allies from taking damage, so they can focus on taking the enemy out. And stuff like that. So basically just check. So essentially, unless it's a brand new concept to the game or something, then you should still check with classes, but if it's brand new, just make sure that it prevents about as much damage per round as any other class. And that's my most important thing that I can tell you. There's not much more I can tell you about homebrewing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but just remember, compare it to other stuff that already exists in Pathfinder 2nd Edition and check if it seems to be similar. Probably see you next time in another video. I will probably also be uploading like content about Pokemon, about other stuff just related to mostly gaming, so guys, girls and everything else, Cargo signing off.